My distant father, Paul, pushed me aside, showered affection on his stepdaughters, and then had the nerve to ask if he could come to my wedding. I'm Sophie, 28, female. Paul practically erased me from his life, lavished attention on his stepdaughters, and later inquired about attending my marriage ceremony. As a child, I always felt something was off between us. He worked long hours, but it wasn't just that. He was emotionally unavailable. He rarely bonded with me or my brother, Ethan. My mother did her best to hold things together, but the strain between them was palpable. Their arguments were relentless, often over small things, unpaid bills, household tasks, or minor errors. Paul had a knack for turning every issue into our fault. Still, I cling to a handful of fond memories. He's why I adore old science fiction movies. We'd occasionally watch them together, chuckling at the cheesy effects, but those moments were rare. Most evenings, he'd return home drained and cranky, snapping at us with harsh words or a frosty demeanor. He made us feel like burdens. There were brief times when he seemed warmer, but only when nothing set him off. A tiny slip, like forgetting to lock a door, would spark an outsized reaction. He'd label me careless, claiming I disrespected his home. Ethan got it worse. He pushed back against Paul, which only fueled the fire. Once, Ethan asked why Paul never spent time with us, and he erupted, ranting about how hard he worked to support us. I grew cautious about talking to him. Eventually, my mother reached her breaking point. Their constant clashes became unbearable, and she filed for divorce. I hoped things might get better after the split, that he'd try harder as a father. I was mistaken. A year later, Paul remarried without informing us. I heard about his new wife, Laura, and her daughters, Ava and Lily, from a cousin. They were at his wedding. Ethan and I weren't. It felt like a slap in the face. We decided to stop chasing his approval and cut contact. For years, I focused on building my own life. I met my partner, Noah, and created a fulfilling world. But when we got engaged, I considered reaching out to Paul. Before sending invitations, I unblocked him on social media and immediately regretted it. His profile was a tribute to his new family, Laura, Ava, and Lily, beaming in coordinated outfits. His captions raved about how they made his life whole. He'd never shared anything like that about us. Worse, I learned he'd taken them on extravagant vacations, something he never did for us, and bought them pets after denying us even a hamster. He'd once given away my childhood kitten while I was at school, with no reason given. The double standard burned. Then came the final sting. Ethan told me Paul was covering Ava and Lily's college tuition after insisting we take out loans because that's life. I was livid. Noah helped me realize Paul didn't deserve my emotional investment. But the universe wasn't finished. My mother called to say Paul was bragging about walking Ava and Lily down the aisle someday, completely ignoring my upcoming wedding. Then Ethan revealed Paul had given Ava our grandmother's vintage necklace, a family keepsake meant for us. That was the last straw. I blocked him everywhere, determined to let go. Months later, Paul contacted Ethan, asking to attend my wedding. I grappled with guilt, but ultimately said no. My mother reminded me, "You don't owe him anything." The wedding day was radiant. My mother walked me down the aisle, and Noah's love erased old wounds. Later, Ethan shared that Paul had called, saying he was proud of me. It didn't heal the past, but it offered a faint sense of resolution. Life calmed down after the wedding, until my aunt called. Paul was gravely ill. I chose not to reach out. If he wanted to mend things, he needed to make the effort. He didn't. I found peace in that. Closure isn't always handed to you. Sometimes you forge it yourself. I don't need Paul's validation to be content. My family, Noah, Ethan, my mother, is enough. And that's the true ending. Months after my aunt's call about Paul's worsening health, a package arrived unexpectedly. The return address was unfamiliar, but the handwriting, angular and precise, stopped me cold. It was his. Inside was a small wooden case and a sealed letter. My hands shook as I opened the note. Sophie, I won't waste your time with justifications. You're right. I failed you and Ethan. I failed as a father. Writing this feels futile because no words can erase my mistakes, but I owe you the truth before it's too late. Laura and the girls were an escape, not a substitute. I poured myself into their lives because it was easier than confronting the wreckage I left with you. They didn't know me at my lowest, so I could pretend to be the father I wish I'd been for you. It was weak. The necklace was your grandmother's. I gave it to Ava in a moment of shame. She asked about family treasures, and I faltered. It's yours. I've enclosed it here. I don't expect absolution, but I needed you to know. The regret is real. Every trip, every tuition check, every proud father post. It was a charade to dodge the guilt of losing you. Paul. The case held the necklace, its etched initials glinting softly. I traced them, tears clouding my eyes. Ethan's voice broke the silence. What's that? He stood in the doorway, eyeing the case. I handed him the letter. He read it, his jaw clenched. "Do you buy it?" he asked. "I'm not sure," I admitted, "but it doesn't change much." Ethan sighed. "Yeah. Still, it's something." Winter arrived, and with it, another call from my aunt. Paul's health had declined further. "He's asking for you," she said softly. This time I wavered. The letter had stirred something, not forgiveness, but curiosity. What would it cost to see him one last time? Noah took my hand. "BT, whatever you decide, I'm here for you." I went alone. The hospice room smelled of sterile air and fading flowers. Paul looked diminished, fragile under the blankets. His eyes fluttered open. "You came," he rasped. I crossed my arms. "Not for closure," he coughed. "I know." We sat in quiet. Then softly he said, "Tell me about your life." About Noah. So I did. I spoke of our small garden, the rescue dog we'd adopted, how Ethan started counseling. Paul listened, tears pooling in his eyes. As I stood to leave, he whispered, "I'm sorry, Sophie." I paused at the door. "Me too." Paul died 2 weeks later. Ethan and I skipped the funeral but lit a candle at home. Laura's daughters posted online, calling him the greatest dad. I felt nothing. No anger, no sorrow, just stillness. Months later, while sorting old boxes, I found a photo of Paul teaching me to ride a bike. His hand steadied the seat, my smile bright with trust. Noah hugged me. "You okay?" I tucked the photo away. "Yeah, just reminiscing." The necklace rests in my jewelry box now. Sometimes I wear it, sometimes I forget it's there. That's how healing feels. Not in sweeping moments, but in small, uneven steps. The seasons turned as they do. Life marched on. Noah and I bought a home near the mountains. Ethan got engaged, and Mom finally nailed her tricky lasagna recipe after 7 tries. Paul's sharp edges dulled over time like pebbles smoothed by a stream. I kept the necklace in my jewelry box, touching it occasionally, sometimes to wear, sometimes to ponder the grandmother I never met. It was a quiet reminder that some stories don't wrap neatly. They just fade. One evening in the attic, I found a dusty box labeled Sophie's keepsakes in Paul's handwriting. Inside were old report cards, a wilted corsage from my first dance, and a crumpled drawing of our family. Stick figures with giant grins. At the bottom, a note. "For when you're grown, so you know I held you close, even when I couldn't say it." I sat back, staring at the words. Maybe, in his broken way, he had cared. Maybe care isn't always enough. That night I dreamed of Paul. We were in our old backyard and he was teaching me to carve wood, a promise kept from when I was 10. In the dream he showed up. Over coffee, I told Noah. He smiled. "You made peace with him long ago," he said. "Now you're just finding peace with yourself." He was right. Some ties can't be mended. Some scars don't fully fade. But you learn to carry them lightly. You build a life around the love that endures, the kind that shows up in lasagna flops, attic finds, and quiet mornings with the one who knows your soul. Paul's shadow doesn't linger anymore. It just drifts by sometimes, like a breeze through an open window. And that's fine. The end. If this story touched your heart, please give it a like, share it with others, and follow for more heartfelt tales and real-life stories. Your support means everything and helps us share more stories like this. Thank you for reading, and I'll see you in the next one.